Thank you for joining me, Kathy Koloff, and the IT Radix team to talk to you a little bit today about leveraging the power of your voice with technology. So at the end of this, I hope you will be able to talk more and maybe perhaps type a little bit less. So with that, I wanted just to spend a moment. I think most of you know who we are, but I like to brag about my awesome IT Radix team. We want to be your friendly, trusted advisor for IT, all things IT. Everyone knows that you like to do business with people you know, like, and trust, and that is what IT Radix is all about. And I believe that our team is our X factor, and there's a number of us here today. So if you have any questions throughout, you can put them in the chat. We are silencing the audio for this particular one because it creates some feedback. If you have a question, though, if you want to just raise your hand through the Zoom feature down there, Dan will then at that point unmute you. I'll have to play with the sound a little bit so we don't get some terrible feedback. But so today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how to use your voice to help you control your computer. And I think many folks are familiar with doing some of this with Alexa or perhaps on your phone, Hey Siri, but a lot of folks don't know that you can actually control your computer with the same exact voice control systems that exist on your smartphones and things like Alexa. So on your Windows machine, the system that they use is something called Cortana, and you activate it by saying, Hey Cortana, and it will then at that point start listening to you and execute what it interprets as your voice command. The difference between Cortana and Siri is that Cortana is always listening. Siri is not. You actually have to click on the Siri icon, which is on the Mac platform, and then at that point it does listen. So just be aware of those differences. There's a little bit of a setup that you have to do on either side. I would encourage you to run through the setup. You train it to listen to your voice and understand how you speak. You can even train it so they will only answer your voice and not someone else's. So for example, when I first started using this, my son was triggering Siri in the car. And so I had to train Siri to only use my voice and follow my commands and not my son's as well. The other thing I would say is that it does work cross-platform. So for example, you could use Cortana to launch your Gmail, or you could use it to launch iTunes on your Windows machine. And so that's super nice as well. Cortana supports both voice and typing. So you may notice it down there near your start button, the little box, and there's a little circle that looks like this circle you see here on the screen. You could type things in and Cortana will interpret it, or you could say it. Siri only accepts voice. If you're on the Mac, then you want to type in your command that you're looking for, then you would use the spotlight feature instead. All right. So these are some samples of things that you can actually ask them to do, whether it's Siri or Cortana. And then Alexa is the Android platform. So for example, if you want to find the capital of Peru, or if you want to, what I like to do is when I'm in the car, I'll put my phone up there and I'll say, Hey Siri, what's on my schedule today? And she'll launch and she'll start reading off my calendar to me throughout the day. You could also have it read your text messages, show you directions, bring up pictures. There's a myriad of things you can do. You can get it to launch applications for you. And then you can also train it and hook it into various third-party apps as well. But just a reminder, Siri is only on the Mac machines. If you have an iMac, for example, only listening after you click to turn on the Siri. Both of them, the more you use them, the better they get in terms of understanding what you want to do and interpreting your commands. So I encourage you to give it a try. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that if you look around as you're using your computer, once you've enabled using your microphone, you'll suddenly start to notice that, hey, if you're using Edge and Bing as your search engine, you can see that there's a little microphone icon here, which means if you click on that microphone and then speak, it'll type in what you're saying in the search bar, and that's what it'll go out and search. And Google Chrome has the same exact feature. And there's other applications that may be installed on your computer that if you notice that little microphone icon, give it a try, because it is probably able to listen to your voice and then execute or type in whatever it is that you're saying. The one thing I will mention is today you notice I'm using a headset. I found that for presentation purposes, it didn't think that my voice was loud enough. If you don't have a mic, you can actually talk to your device as long as it has a mic built in. So for example, most laptops with COVID and lots of video, Zoom and Teams meetings and things of that nature, many people didn't actually have headsets and they were just using the built-in mic in their laptop, and it will work with that. In this case, for today, I decided to use the mic to make the sound quality be a little better. So some of the applications that are in the Microsoft 365 environment that have dictation built in, Word, Outlook, OneNote, PowerPoint, all of these have a dictation built in. I will do a demo where I can show you how this works. But I just wanted to mention some of the reasons why you might actually want to do this. First off is when you type things versus when you say things, you're going to end up with a more natural result if you use your speaking voice. It does take a little bit of time to get used to. It's a little weird in the beginning. You're talking to your computer, but once you get into the hang of it, I have found that the output, the result of my email messages, for example, or my Word documents are more natural and more similar to spoken language. And therefore, I find maybe comprehension on the other side, the folks that are getting the output goes up. The other thing it allows you to do is to be hands-free. So you can multitask. You could perhaps hold a piece of paper in your hand while you're dictating. During COVID, I know a lot of people started writing books. And so you could use the dictate feature to help you as you're writing that book, but it could just be a simple email response to a colleague. I do see one question maybe flagging up here. I'm not sure. Dragon Naturally Speaking is a third-party application that also does speech recognition. It has been around forever, and as a result, the quality of it may actually be better than what you're going to get through Cortana or Siri, just because their translation engines have more usage and knowledge that they've built up over time. But I do find that both of them, both platforms, Siri and Cortana, are really quite good. So I would encourage you to give them a try. And they're free and built in versus Dragon Speaking Naturally is something that most folks have to pay for. As I do the dictation and the demo, I'm going to show you how you can add things like punctuation. You can make changes and edit. And so it's pretty sophisticated in terms of how the dictation function works. And let's see, the other thing I will mention, and you'll see this, is if you dictate an email message using, so like for example, if you were to say, hey Cortana, send a message to just in case, it will open an email message, it will address it to just in case. You'll type in your subject, you'll say your subject, you'll say your message, and then when it sends it out, unless you go in and modify that message on your computer using your keyboard, it will say that this message was dictated by Cortana. So you can tell the difference. So if there's typos and things in there, that's a little bit of a clue to the recipient that perhaps you didn't actually type that, and that the Cortana or the whatever you were dictating to, whether it was Siri, got that wrong. So to flip this around a little bit, there's dictation, but there's also, if you wanted to flip it around, sometimes people, if you like audiobooks, it will actually read to you. So instead of you speaking to the computer will read it to you. Again, this is built into those various Office applications, and where you'll find it is usually like under the Word document, it's under review and then read aloud. And so I find this is a great tip. So if I've typed something up and then I want to see how it sounds, I'll actually go to review and say read aloud and have Word read the document back to me so I can make sure that it makes sense. So with that, I'm going to do a little demo. This is a little tricky because I'm using the mic for the presentation, but this should work out okay. So I'm going to minimize the screen the presentation. I'm going to launch into Word. And the first thing I'm going to show you is you do have to do the setup. Now, obviously, I've already done that today because I'm doing the presentation here. But you set up your mic, and then all you have to do is position your cursor where you want the dictation to start. And then you click the dictation button, and you'll notice it pops up and says it's listening. And it's typing everything I'm saying as we go. And so, for example, my coffee mug, my favorite employee gave me this mug. Okay, so the irony of this is I got 10 of these for Christmas. Okay, so if I wanted to delete a word, I just say delete this last sentence. Delete this last sentence. And it will, of course, I haven't said period. So end of sentence. Delete the last sentence. And you notice if you watched it, it deleted the last thing I typed. If you want to, perhaps stop recording, you turn off the listening. I would encourage you to do that before you say that. And then so you just press the little button, and if you want to resume, you turn it back on. You can hit enter, type a message in here. And then maybe I'm ready to start dictating again. I'll just say, who gave me that coffee mug? Now let me stop for 1 second. Now you'll notice that it doesn't have a question mark there, but you could just say question mark, and it will translate that into a question mark, put those punctuation marks in there. I can turn off the mic. So you could do things with semicolons, new lines, periods. If you want to bold, you just say bold the last word. It will go back and bold the last word. There are a lot of commands that you can use. After this, if you're interested, we can send you the link to the Microsoft webpage that outlines all of the various voice commands that you can use to edit on the fly. I also thought it might be nice to demonstrate the read aloud. So the read aloud, if you're in an email message or in a document, you would open it up, obviously, as I just did, and then you click the read aloud. Now, this is going to be coming from my computer into the mic, so it might be a little faint, but I'm going to give this a try. And one of the things I'll point out is if you watch the screen as it's reading, it will follow along so you know exactly where it is in the message.
I was talking to a client recently who wanted me to tell you how impressed she was with our core values. She says that by working with us, she sees that we live them out. Nice. Kudos to you.
So that's an example of a read aloud, but it will read email messages to you. It can also read your Word documents and things of that nature. So with that, that's really all I wanted to show today. Are there any questions that I could perhaps answer? What I would say is I strongly encourage you to give the audio, whether it's dictation or the read aloud, a try, because it's really powerful. I find it extremely convenient, and it's constantly improving, and they're adding new and new things. So as time goes on, I think you'll find that it can be a valuable productivity tool for you and your business. All right. That's it for today. We tried very hard to stay at the 10 minutes. I was a little bit over, but thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.